Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us. My name is Evan Wheeler. I am based in Versailles, Kentucky, just outside of Lexington and Frankfort, also near to Louisville, and I'm completing the CodeU Bluegrass program as a portion of my journey back into software engineering. Over the past year, I've completed 3 boot camps: Awesome Inc., Tech Elevator, and CodeU Bluegrass. In the past, I've studied engineering at the University of Louisville and computer science at the University of Kentucky. Professionally, I have worked as an associate engineer with 10 plus years in software development, 10 plus years in information technology, and 5 plus years in logistics and inventory management. I've always been passionate about problem solving and technology, and my goal is to build impactful applications while continuing to grow as a full stack developer. I joined CodeU to deepen my full stack foundation with a focus on front end, HTML5, CSS3, and JavaScript, along with Node.js and Express for building and consuming REST APIs. I wanted to move beyond isolated exercises by shipping real features, asynchronous data fetching, responsive layouts, and deployment. The program also let me practice Git and GitHub workflows, code reviews, and collaborative delivery. My capstone my capstone project is a Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition toolkit inspired by a game I've enjoyed for many years in all of its variations. D&D blends creativity, storytelling, and numbers, much like programming itself. Early on, its use of math sparked my appreciation for the power of computation, eventually guiding me towards calculus, physics, computer science, and ultimately software engineering. With this project, I set out to build a tool that makes the game more accessible for both players and dungeon masters, while also challenging myself with API integration, asynchronous data handling, and modern responsive design in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So here we're going to take a look at the application itself, what could be known as an SPA or single page application. And you can see responsive design with the nav bar there, as well as various buttons. The main element of the page, along with some art from a Kentucky artist there, Larry Elmore. Here we have the Dungeon Master's Guide, along with an embedded PDF of the actual source material. This way players don't have to lug around books. They can simply pull it out of their pocket. We then have integration of the API endpoints. Now, in some of these areas, it's kind of lean, such as the Dungeon Master's Guide here, but you have meaningful presentation of that JSON data. Here we have the player's handbook, again, the embedded PDF, so you can dereference what's in the API. Again, the API is kind of lean, so it's important to have something there to cross-reference what is available. And again, there's endpoints embedded. Here, for example, we have classes, and among those classes, we have Druid. And displaying the Druid details in a little more meaningful manner than just a JSON blob object. We can then proceed to the monster manual. This is where the API really shines. Once again, we have the monster manual PDF available to cross-reference. Say, for example, we want to look at Gargoyle. We can pull that up within the PDF. We can also then search for that entity within the API database. There you have the stat sheet available along with the image presented. And again, this allows you to cross-reference from the source material to the API. Furthermore, we can fetch all monsters from the API. This is where you actually begin to fetch all of the monsters. This was done in an asynchronous manner so that we avoided 429 too many request errors, basically hammering at the API. And you can see it proceeds there. So now we'll proceed to the character sheet. The character sheet allows you to manage yours or other character sheets. You can import and export the character sheets to a text file as a JSON object. This could easily be modified to work with a backend via JDBC or the like, where those JSON objects are communicated to a database, and I have done that. Here we have some dice rolling. You can roll numerous dice of various types. You can also save those to a file. We can also then go to Dungeon Dice. This would allow procedural generation of dungeon elements, dungeon conditions, etc. Hit dice of good and bad misses, and those effects of those hits. NPC dice, here we can randomly generate NPCs such as the female monk dwarf you see here. And this just kind of gets the creative, juices flowing so that you can do that on the fly. Here we get into the API. You can actually search here. It's a little time consuming, so I'm not going to display that for us, but very thorough. Here we have a mini postman. You can actually go through those JSON objects as links very similar to Postman for those of you who are familiar with it. There you can see the raw JSON object, not exactly dereferenced, but is available. We then go to the API endpoints, and you guys have seen these. These were parsed throughout the various sections of the source material, where again you can see meaningful presentation of that data. We then get into links for the 5th edition API. This is the one that I used. The D&D official store, D&D Beyond, and that's their digital platform, somewhat akin to what you see going on here. Wizards of the Coast. And lastly, a legal section discussing how all of this was produced under the OGL or Open Gaming License, and much of the material you see here was available through the Internet Archive as a free and fair use type material. I bring extensive industry experience with both a strong academic and technical foundation. I enjoy solving complex problems, whether in databases, APIs, or responsive design, while ensuring results are polished and user-friendly. I thrive in collaboration, adapt to agile and Git workflows, and stay sharp through continuous learning. Thank you for your time and attention today. If you'd like to connect, you can reach me at evanwheeler02@gmail.com or find me on LinkedIn at evan-wheeler-engineer. Alternatively, you can take a look at my projects via GitHub under the user Miliuz, Milieusz. I'd be happy to talk more about the project or my background. Thank you for your time today. One final shout out to Dan Collins and Blake Herbert. Really appreciate the oversight and opportunity to learn with you guys.